Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Amy Holmesy with My Holistic Club, and today we're doing something different. We are still doing our holistic highlight and featuring one of my favorite naturopaths, but we are in a different location. We are in Inverness, Florida this afternoon at what we call the WorkSpot co-working space in Inverness, Florida. They have an app that you can download if you want to get more information. But again, thank you for joining us. We are very passionate here at My Holistic Club with natural health. And what we like to do, folks, My Holistic Club is your wellness membership community. We have an abundance of affiliates in Tampa Bay and Pinellas County, and also affiliates around the nation that work remotely to help you get healthier. We are a membership club, but we deal with whole health, which means holistic health, body, mind, and spirit. We have some of the top practitioners, wellness centers, fitness centers, etc. on our platform, as well as multiple products that we personally use and love. At My Holistic Club, there is a membership fee, but you get 20% off of all services. So please check us out at myholisticclub.com. And with that, folks, again, I'm very excited to be here with Dr. Phil Harris. He flew in all the way from cold Indiana. And
That's cool.
He's on our platform, so you can look him up. The name of his business is Life Fix Now, but he's also on myholisticclub.com. And we've known each other for about 3 years, and he's now Jackson, my personal practitioner. So I love working with like-minded people and people with integrity and know their stuff, right? So I can't go into all of your credentials, Dr. Phil, but I will. I wrote down some. So he's been a naturopath doctor for many, many years. I love his talks about principles of health as well as the deposits and withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to cover today, folks, frequency health. But again, Dr. Phil is a doctor of naturopathy. He's also certified in biofeedback. He has spent 3 years as a director of metabolics at one of the top 5 wellness centers in this country. He has 30 years of experience in wellness and prevention. He's a published author, folks. He's been on the radio and also a talk show guest. He's also published articles in science and medical journals, and I believe you also co-wrote a book.
I did. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Dr. Phil. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So today, I think it's good that we talk about the principles of health. I love how you lay that foundation down, mm-hmm. and you make it simple so we could all understand it.
Right.
And frequency health is everywhere. I think that's a big topic today as well.
Yep.
And the other topic I think that is so fitting that people can relate to is your deposit and withdrawal method of health.
Right. Well, first of all, let's talk about principles. So the word principle, if you take the word prince, which is the word first, it means first. These are first laws. When you have first laws, they're laws that are not going to change. That means you have to get on the right side of that law. So let's take something simple like gravity. This is a first law. So gravity right now is our friend. Amy and I are sitting in these chairs. That's our friend. But when you step off a 2-story building, that same principle is not in your favor anymore. Okay, so what I find working with people with principles is that they come to me not understanding principles at all. And many of the doctors they work with don't talk about this.
Right.
When you go into an office to get help, you need to be hearing certain language. Okay, if you're not hearing certain language, then it's a sign you're probably in the wrong office. So the language needs to be principle-based, which is, for instance, what is the body made up of? Let's just start there. Well, it's made up of primarily water. We're 72% water, and we're over 80% water in our blood. Okay, so that being said, why would you eat things that don't contain water? Okay, that's just principle number one. Most people eat it dehydrates them the way they eat because they're eating all kinds of boxed and processed things and so forth. This is why I'm big on eating from the vine. Now, there's going to be lots of tension and arguments out there. There's 55 different ways to eat. If you let this get in your head, you're going to be very, very tense because nobody knows how to make that work. It's like, how can 55 different ways be right? Well, the answer is they're not. So we got to get back to the beginning of things. And this is something else that's been on my heart lately a lot to talk about. Besides principles we have to understand in order to know how to help ourselves, we also have to understand the beginning of things. And so if you are not a believer, you probably should read Lee Strobel's book, Case for a Creator, and you would find out that we have a creator, we have intelligent design, and we've got to get back to the beginning of things. So having said that, you look at Genesis. Genesis says, God said, let there be what? Light. And that word, light, is not the word for the sun. The sun was on day 4, light was on day 1. That alone sets us up to understand the beginning of things. So you've heard me teach before, but for our audience, if you have not, if you look up Kirlian photography, spelled with a K, it's a European photography, you can look it up online, and you look at a picture of an apple that's sliced in half and a raw piece of meat that's sliced in half, you'll notice there's a huge difference in the amount of light that projects. This is an example of the beginning of things. When God said, let there be light, and he told us in Genesis 1:29 to eat from the vine, every place on earth where they lived close to that principle, they live longer.
Like the blue zones, for example?
Yes, everywhere. In all of the Asian countries, they have the highest rate of centurions in the world. And I don't mean warriors, although that could be the case too. I mean over 100 years of age, okay? Right. We don't have that in the Midwest, and they don't have it in Australia. Australia has one of the highest colon cancer rates in the world, and this is because they're highly carnivorous. They eat a lot of red meat. So we have to be careful who we're listening to. What I'm saying is, go back to the beginning of things and look at what the Creator had to say about things, because the further we drift away from his design, the sicker we're going to get. Now, let me give you a couple of quick examples of that. So I was in a meeting the other day teaching in Connersville, Indiana, and it was in a church. And as we drew close to the end of the meeting, and after talking about some of these same concepts, I said, how many people in here are over 70 years old? And several raised their hand. I said, how many are over 80? And then I finally said, how many are 84 or older? And one lady raised her hand. Now, it wasn't to embarrass her. I wanted to find some seniority in this room. Right. So I said to her, when you were young, dear, meaning less than 18, how many children do you remember having cancer? And she said 0. Yeah. How many children did you know that had autism? She said 0. And I could have gone on. I could have said how many children that were diabetics or how many children were obese. She would have continued probably with 0. So my point is, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We need to ask ourselves, why at that time were there so much less problems than we have today, and look at the reasons why. It's because they were living much closer to the beginning of things. We had less toxins. We had our own gardens. We didn't have all kinds of man-made chemicals. Lots of farmers were using manure for their fertilization. And it's not that it was a perfect world, but we definitely can measure the differences. So when someone says to me...
They had that good foundation.
Absolutely. And so the Bible says there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death. That means sometimes we may think we're doing the right thing, but we're going to find out later we're not. I don't mean to say that every doctor out there has intention on harming the patients. Right. I believe many of them don't. Right. Some of them I wonder sometimes. But I will tell you, when we get away from the beginning of things and principles, we're going to pay a price for this. And that brings me to that law of deposit and withdrawal that you like so well. So one evening I was in my office many years ago praying, and I heard the Lord say to me, everything is about deposits and withdrawals. And the whole room stood still, because when he speaks, that's just the way it happens. And at first, my understanding was unfruitful in my mind, but I knew this was correct in my spirit. So I began to stop and meditate this, and then I realized quickly I saw it. Every single person that's listening to my voice is a deposit and a withdrawal right now. Listen to me, folks. A deposit starts everything. When God said, let there be light, that was a deposit of his word. Every single person that I'm talking to started with a sperm. Yes, that's a deposit. Withdrawals are deliveries. Everything in life, our thoughts, our bodies are based on deposits and withdrawals, and no one escapes this law. So it doesn't matter if you believe in the law. I prefer you do. But if you don't believe in it, it's going to visit you anyway. It's much like saying you don't believe in rain. Well, it's going to visit you. If you don't believe in oxygen, that doesn't make it go away, you know. Right. So this is what's so both sobering and spooky about not understanding this law, because it's going to visit you. When you put something in your mouth, it's either going to fuel you, making a deposit, or it's going to make withdrawals, or a little of both. Sometimes it can be a little of both. What we can never have is more withdrawals than deposits, because you financial experts that are listening to me, what do we call that? That's called bankruptcy. When you have more withdrawals than deposits, you have bankruptcy. And when people come to me and they're ill, every time I test them, I find two things. One, they've been poisoned. In almost every case, virtually every case, they've been poisoned, either multiple different ways, metals, toxins, pesticides, herbicides, whatever. And number two, they're bankrupt. Sometimes literally bankrupt. They don't have any money because they spend it all in the wrong places trying to get well, and they're bankrupt nutritionally. They don't have nutrition in their bodies. We can measure that if we know what to test for. Many doctors don't test for these things at all.
Right.
And so if you continue to avoid these things we just talked about, principles, the law of deposit and withdrawal, and you don't get back to the beginning of things, I don't know how you expect to get well, because your body has no idea how to be sick. Now, this is something else I want our audience to understand. Your brain is on a survival program. It runs on, how do I keep this person well? And that's what it does every day. It tries every day to keep you well, regardless of the cost. The cost is going to be dis-ease. It's going to rob Peter to pay Paul. It does it in a very brilliant way to try to keep you alive. And so when you bend over to pick up a pencil, your body talks to itself at 100 million signals a second. That is phenomenal and amazing. If I connect your DNA together, it will go from the earth to the sun 100 times. This is just with one human body. It's amazing.
Yes.
But yet we expect a doctor to stand over it and tell it how to function. This is crazy. I mean, I have a lot of paper on my wall. I've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
I've studied both in and out of the United States, but I'm a punk. I'm just a punk compared to this body. And that's where the kind of language you need to hear when you're in offices. Whether it's a surgeon or whomever, they have to have respect for this body. And anytime you believe you're in the presence of someone who's prideful and arrogant, you're probably getting ready to get bad information.
And you have to speak up, and you have to ask questions.
Yeah, you do.
And you have to be proactive in your health.
Yes.
And Jack and I have our own story of that, which we're not going to go into today, because we both have fired doctors before.
Yes.
And folks, when I hear bashing doctors, there's a time and a place. There's emergency medicine, right? And,
yeah, we're thankful for that.
And they are needed. We're talking about in general or for chronic conditions.
Right.
There could be a better way.
That's
or
right.
an integrative way. Can you just give the audience a quick example of what a deposit in your body would look like versus a withdrawal? Just maybe a few quick examples so they could relate to it.
Well, sure. Well, one of the required readings on my doctoral level was a book called Enzyme Nutrition by Dr. Edward Howell. Edward Howell is one of the geniuses of our world, just like Dr. Loomis of Loomis Enzymes. Mm-hmm. If you don't get enzymes, you're not going to heal. I'm just going to tell you. And so here's a quick, easy example without being a PhD. You cut an apple in half. We have an apple right here. Cut it in half. How long does it take it to turn brown?
Not long.
Not long. Those are enzymes dying. That's called oxidation.
Right.
Now, most people know what oxidation is. It's oxidative stress. That's what causes virtually all disease, is oxidative stress. All of the doctors who've studied chemistry know this, okay? You can look it up on PubMed.gov. It will tell you there's over 200 diseases tied to oxidative stress alone. So if you're going to make a deposit that the body can use, it has to be enzyme-active food, okay? So having said that, when you take a Twinkie and cut it in half, what happens to the Twinkie?
Well, it lasts forever because it's full of chemicals. It's not
right. It doesn't turn brown.
It's man-made, right?
It has a 12-year shelf life, and it's not real food. Now, once again, we can turn our brains on. This is something else I say in my seminars. Turn your brain on. Do some of your own thinking. Do not give your health over to anybody. You're responsible for your health. Question everything.
Yes.
Not to be a mean person, but question things. You have a right to know.
Absolutely.
This is your body.
Absolutely.
The doctor writing scripts for you is not the one going to suffer the side effects. You will, if there are any. If his methods fail, he doesn't suffer like you do.
Right.
So think, turn your brain on. So most people do not eat live foods. They may start live, but once you cook them, microwave them, heat them over 118 degrees for any length of time, those enzymes start to die. And so the cool thing about God's food is if you eat an apple, not only does it have enzymes to digest itself, but it has enough left over to make a deposit. And this is what Ed Howell talks about. Your body has the ability to bank enzymes. And when you can do that, when your body's under stress or you get a flu, cold, something, then the body can draw on that to defeat this invader, you see? But when you're enzymatically deficient, which almost everybody is. In fact, I have people tell me all the time, Dr. Phil, I'm not a rabbit. I don't want to eat like you tell me to eat. And I have to laugh like, Amy, because I'm like, I can tell you're not a rabbit because you're not very nimble. You can't even get up a flight of stairs. The rabbits get around really well. But the truth of the matter is, I've got people less than 40 years of age that are sicker than many of the doctors I work with that know how to take care of themselves that are in their 60s because of the way they live and eat. They start their day with a Pop-Tart or a soda or both at the same time.
Or McDonald's.
Yeah, all of those things are enzymatically dead for the most part, and some of them not only are enzymatically dead, they also bring carcinogens and toxins to us, and now our body has to draw on its reserves to defeat this. You see what I mean?
So that's a huge withdrawal from the body, which taxes the body.
That's right. That's right. It does. It taxes the body. Now, let me take this a step further. This principle works in every area, spirit, soul, and body. So if you put enough trash in your head long enough,
that's right.
Okay, you're going to make a problem for yourself, that's for sure, okay, because you're going to be a direct result of deposits and withdrawals. And so the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when somebody is talking and they seem negative and down and no positive words, and they seem, that's a sign of what they've allowed in their head for a long period of time, too long.
That's toxic and very negative, and it's energy. And if you're around these people long enough, they actually suck the energy out of you.
That's right. And there's even science to prove that can happen even if they don't open their mouth. Just being in their energy fields, you can be kind of, deleted from your own energy sources. And so this may sound like Star Trek stuff out there. I'm just telling you it's measurable. It's all measurable. We can see all of this. And so you are a spirit, you have a soul, you live in a body. You have to guard these areas of what you allow to be deposited into those areas.
And you're right. It's not just what we eat. It's what we think, what we watch, what we see, what we hear.
Yes, and the people we hang around.
Yes.
I mean, some of the greatest business minds of the world say you're going to be a direct result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And there's probably quite a bit of data to support that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love the principle theory. It's so true and it's so relatable, right? And a lot of this is just common sense, but we forget because we're busy and, you're out and about and you're grabbing this and grabbing that. But, and I love the deposit and withdrawal. Again, people can understand that. And it sheds a new light on it, right?
It does.
And if you write that down, you do want more deposits than withdrawal. And I think it's good to keep track of that. Now, the other topic that we're both passionate about is frequency health. It's here and it's in the future. And we both have been blessed to have been part of different frequency modalities, and one of them happens to be this patch.
Right.
So I know you use this in your arsenal with your patients and clients as well.
Yes. Well, first of all, it is futuristic, but yet it's back to the beginning of things again. This let there be light. Okay, this was electromagnetic energy. We don't know why God chose to create that, but until He changes His mind, that's the way it's going to be. We just have to get on board with it. That's just the way it's going to be.
I just love the way you put things.
Well, I mean, and quantum physicists know this. They call it string theory now. They know there are particles smaller than atoms, and we just can't deny it. And we have to know that it's real, which it is. So, also, Einstein said, and you can look this up yourself, guys that are listening today, the future of medicine is in frequencies. Nikola Tesla understood this, and Dr. Royal Rife, which I believe was one of the greatest scientists of the last couple hundred years for sure, he understood this to the maximum level, okay? But we don't even know some of these people exist or said these things at all. In fact, Thomas Edison said that the future of medicine is going to be the prevention of disease, that we're going to focus on the prevention of disease, okay? And he was dealing with what? What do we know Edison for? For light, again. See, why did Edison figure this out? How did he figure this out? That statement is in almost all holistic offices across the country.
Right. A lot of chiropractors.
The doctor of the future will not give medicines, chemicals, but will focus on the prevention of disease. And we are there, folks, in a big way, because if we don't begin to do this at the maximum level, we will not be able to afford anything in the world of healthcare. It's off the chart now. America is the sickest nation in the world. We don't even rank in the top 40%. We have one doctor for every 8 patients. That's the best doctor-patient ratio in the world. And we also the hospital industry is the 5th largest in the world, and we're just not gaining what we think we're gaining here. It's become a treatment Band-Aid model, and they call it sick care instead of health care. But back to these wonderful patches from scientist David Schmidt, who is the CEO of LifeWave. David is a believer, and he understands what I just taught you today. And so through prayer and efforts and his scientific mind, he's been able to find ways to bring back to us what I believe used to be given to us through the foliage on the earth.
Right. The light that we're losing.
That's right.
As we age.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before we messed up the earth, the greenery, the foliage, had light projecting out of it that was restoring us, believe it or not, okay? At this point, we don't have as much of that. Plus, even if we did, we don't usually live in the middle of foliage. We live in a house. We live in plastic materials. We have metal materials. In fact, even our clothing is no longer cotton. And there's some studies, I won't have time today to go into that, but there are studies that say that because we wear lots of polyester, it is messing us up.
Our frequency.
Yeah.
Because it's a negative frequency compared to 100% cotton or even bamboo.
Right.
And wool is supposed to be a good one as well.
Yes. Well, anything that we, once again, when we change nature and we start losing the sources that we were, there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death. In almost every case, if we make decisions to make more money and not serve people, there's a balance. We need to make money, but you got to remember, in the beginning, money wasn't here. Money's a man-made thing, but light was here, and humans were here, and food was here even before there was money. So I tell people, money was not the first thing. So when you get back to the beginning of things, we began to see how we've gotten all out of sorts. And what does the Bible tell us? Not money, but the love of money is what?
Evil.
It's the root of all evil. So you're going to find evil in our food industry because there's too much money being made and not enough health. So these are just principles I want everybody to understand. But what these patches are helping us do is to recoup light for the body to produce things that it can do for us to keep our aging slowed down. And
rejuvenation, renewal, recovery, all of that. I know for me personally, I'm sleeping better, have more energy, mental clarity, skin, hair, all that will look better. And it's just rewarding helping people, letting them know that these options are out there for them.
Yes. Well, and also, just so you know, guys, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm not an easy sell. When these patches were first shown to me, I'm not a skeptic. I think being a skeptic is a pain. It's just a pain because you don't really look into things. You don't prove things. You just say,
Or you think you know it.
Or if my doctor doesn't know about it, it's no good. Listen, don't think like that because nobody knows everything, okay? So, but I looked at this. I took it to a doctor friend of mine, and I said, test this on hard soil. I didn't even use it myself at first. And he did. He got results. Within a week, he calls me, how do I get more of these? And this was a 70-plus-year-old chiropractor with a master's in nutrition who'd been in the business for 40-some years. He wasn't somebody that you were going to pull the wool over his eyes.
He's seen everything come down the pipe.
He's seen everything. And but this is scientifically verified. It is patented.
Absolutely.
And David has over 200 patents and still growing. He's not just a patch guy. David's developing all kinds of technologies for our world. He's a humanitarian. He's got a lot of stuff going, and you can find all this information online. Many YouTube clips we have on David Schmidt and lots of other things that you can research. I couldn't possibly do it justice today, with what we have to talk about. Yeah.
Well, what I love about it is the simplicity. Right? I mean, we still have to eat healthy, get exercise, drink your water.
Right.
Take your supplementation. But this is probably the quickest, easiest, affordable, simplistic thing I do.
Right.
Every single day. So.
Well, it's because we're getting back to the beginning of things again. There's nothing that moves any faster than light anyway.
Right.
And this is not transdermal. This is using photobiomodulation, which is not something David Schmidt created. It's something that was already here.
Right.
The sun helps us with vitamin D through the exact same method. And so this is just what I mean. David found a way to reappropriate something that was already here in the universe back to us again, because we don't have this magnificent foliage everywhere. We don't all live in blue zones.
Right.
Wished we could.
Yeah.
But if we live in factory areas, rural areas, working areas, sometimes lots of toxicity, we need all the help we can get, guys.
Right.
And so I've listened to PhDs, I've listened to MDs, I've listened to chiropractors, all talk about them using this technology and testing this technology. All of them have been very, very impressed with what they've seen with it. It's because it's real. That's all there is to it. It's not that hard to understand once you realize this thing started with the let there be light thing.
Right.
It did not start with let there be aspirin or let there be Tylenol or let there be whatever. That's not what God said.
Right.
He said, let there be light. And then we began to mess with his design. And I'm just telling you, there's a scripture that I like that is kind of a play on words, but it impacts me. And it says, the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisest man. So even the Einsteins of our world, God bless them, thank God for them, compared to the Creator, it's like I said earlier, we're just punks, you know. Yeah. So we've got to lean into this God Creator, and to do that, you've got to read His Word, and you've got to pray, and you've got to believe. Otherwise, it's up for grabs, guys, as to what you're going to believe, and that's scary. That's really scary when you think about what we could come up with. Some of the things that are going on these days is a good example of what we've come up with, which is pretty crazy. So
yeah, and again, getting back to big proponent of being your own healthcare advocate, learning, listening, doing your own homework, your own research, and doing what's best for you. And we'll, not today, but we have a whole other topic on that.
Right.
But folks, we want to thank you for tuning in today. We could be here for hours. Dr. Phil is so knowledgeable. But check us out at myholisticlub.com. And Dr. Phil is on there as well with his contact information. And we want you to be healthy and be blessed. Thank you.